and then it'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Okay, nice dashes into flex there. Alright. So far we look pretty mechanically sound. So yeah, I'm just looking for when we start to use something wrong here. Alright, so there we accidentally dropped like right inside of them when we didn't have deflect up and we got down to 5 HP. So we just gotta be a little bit careful that we're not just running into them, especially when we don't have deflect available, so that we can't get out here, because we get like 5 HP away from dying here, just because we just dropped straight inside of them. So we just gotta be careful about that. Alright, so there we end up missing the dash, but then also on top of that, after we do miss it, we do kind of back off from Mercy, even though she still is low HP here, so we could probably still continue to like be on top of her and try to get the kill or finish off the kill here, but we do kind of leave her be, and then that means that we miss out on the kill we could be going for, right?
Yeah.
Besides that, we get the Mercy, sorry, we get the McCree, so that's fine. Alright. So we're spending a lot of time on this hog. So let's talk target priority real quick, because so far it's seeming as though, like, you know, it's been a minute and 10 seconds and then most of this time has been spent on the hog. So just real quick on like how does target priority work? Well, what to shoot at is typically not going to be tanks, right? We don't want to shoot at tanks all over and over again, because tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have tanking abilities, they have shields, they have armor, so they're much harder to kill than other characters, right? On top of that, even though tanks are a very important role, and their job is to create space for the other roles, right? Whereas a DPS outputs damage and a support outputs healing, right? So that means that the other two roles are the ones that output the statistical value, and then they're the ones that we want to take out as a result. So overall, target priority should probably be on the supports and DPS, whereas for the most part, we've been on the hog like this entire time so far, which is going to be probably like the hardest thing on their team to kill, besides maybe the Sigma, right? Yeah, we seem to like be on him the entire game, so we probably want to be swapping up our target priority so that we're going more. So like here, for example, when we're, you know, after we get this kill on McCree, instead of going for the hog immediately, right, maybe we can go and contest these supports over on the right side, right, as an example. Or if we wanted to, maybe we can contest Sigma, who is lower health and doesn't have as much HP as hog. So I mean, there's examples here, you know, go for the easier things to kill, because we just spent a lot of time on hog so far.
Yeah.
I need healing. I require healing.
Okay, I like they were paying attention to health bar, that's good. Alright. So yeah, the fight dragged on, unfortunately, so that forced us to use our ultimate. So potentially there, let's look back at that situation. I want to go back and rewatch for a moment. So we alright, so right now it is a 5v6. In this situation, I probably say it's not blade isn't needed per se, so make sure we're paying attention to our environment. The particular reason why I would say it's not needed is because we're using 3 other ultimates, right? So because we're using Valk, and because we're using Tire, and because we're using Grab, blade probably isn't necessary in this instance, especially when we might want it for the next fight, where we might want to combo a nano blade for the next fight. So here we could probably just as easily with the blade or without the blade. Just, right click dash through all these people and get kills on all the other people in the grab. Tyre's about to swoop in here in a moment and get another kill. So if we're paying attention to, what our team is up to, blade probably wouldn't be necessary here, just because it's pretty much an over ult when we're using 4 ultimates and they're using 1 ult, right? The ultimate's just not necessary in this instance when we're just at such a significant advantage off of that. And then on top of that, we're also up a player as well, just because they're down a Doomfist. So we're up a player. We're also using 3 more ults than they are. So I would say because of that, blade probably wouldn't be necessary, in which case that comes down to awareness, making sure you're paying attention to your environment. Press tab to see how many ultimates do we have, and then just overall just pay attention to how the fight's going. So besides that,
Objective
like I
A
said, mechanics haven't been going so poorly, too poorly so far. Very
Okay.
nice.
I require healing.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
I notice a lot of times that we go for dashes immediately when we get on top of people. So like we did this on the Hog a couple times, but we also do this on the Doomfist, where we get on top, we start shooting at him, and then we right click and then dash through him immediately, right? So we right click dash immediately, whereas that only does like half of his health. So keep in mind, a lot of times dash acts really well as a finisher, right? As a finishing blow, because you get the dash reset, and it really acts as a burst damage to burst down their health, which can stop them from being able to get away, to stop them from being able to heal and to escape. So when you're bursting down someone's HP, that's always going to be a really effective way to kill them. So overall, dash works best when it's a finisher. Yet a lot of times we seem to be opening with our dash, whereas here we open with a dash and then we end up like super far away from the Doomfist and we don't get to finish him off. So first off, noting we probably shouldn't be dashing that early. We should just hang out a little bit more. Secondly, why don't we exit out while we talk about this? And I think I'll have another topic as well. So at 2 minutes and 35 seconds, we're just going to exit and talk about some stuff. So when we dash at people and through people and whatnot, there we just ended up going straight through the Doomfist and like a mile away from him, right? If we're trying to kill the Doomfist, that's not going to be very effective, because then we're just nowhere near Doomfist to be able to hit him. So we dash like this, which just sends us all the way over here. So if we have to try to follow up on it, we're super far away, which makes it very difficult to actually follow up, right? Whereas if we instead dash at the floor, like on their feet, well then now we come out and we're right here, right? So we're able to follow up very easily because we're right next to them. So what makes this easy to do is if you just jump, because this gives us a better angle, right? If we jump up in the air, because it gives us a better downwards angle. So you can jump, or you can just look down, dash at their feet, and then that way we can follow up with more damage instead of just being a mile away from them, right? So that's one point that'd make in that fight. So just don't dash immediately, instead use dash as the finisher. And then also, if you are going to dash at him, make sure you're dashing at his feet. And then also we're going to go over another topic here, and that is crosshair placement. Are you familiar with that term?
No.
No? Okay, so crosshair placement is placing your crosshair in the best place possible to hit the easiest shots, right? So here, the very basics of crosshair placement is make sure we're aiming at head level. So this isn't going to mean that you're hitting all of your headshots, or you're not going to be just at a 100% headshot hit rate, but it is going to up the amount of headshots that you're hitting, because when we're aiming right here, it makes it more natural to hit headshots. There's less adjustment. When we have to adjust very far, it becomes very difficult to hit shots, right? But if we just adjust a tiny little bit, shots become much easier. So the less we have to adjust, easier they become. And headshots obviously do a lot more damage than body shots do, right? You're doing a whole heck of a lot more damage if we're hitting headshots, and therefore we want to hit headshots. So when we're just aiming at body level, right, we spam down this corridor, we're shooting in the shield, shooting in the tanks, shooting down a corridor. We're just by default hitting body level, but if we aim up at head level, now our default just becomes head level, to where it becomes much, much easier to hit headshots just naturally, right? So that is crosshair placement, is aiming across their head level. Right, another step to this is aiming where we know people are going to be. So, we know that there's a bot on the top right now. He's going to walk left side, so we can pre-aim at head level on left side, right? So when he comes back around the corner, right, it's very easy shots to hit, right? It's because we're already aiming there, okay? Here we know he's on the left, so we're pre-aiming left side, aiming head level. So when we turn the corner, very easy shots to hit. These guys are a little bit on a slope, so the same way on a Torb we would look down, and on a tank we would look up. On these guys we're going to look down a little bit, so when we turn the corner, we're pretty much already aimed at their head, right?
Think up on your
Um,
actions.
that this means that like when you're at a distance from somebody, like if you're just spamming down, really from really far away on Genji, you might want to avoid just jumping because this would make it very hard to keep a head level. Whereas if you sit just at a normal, if you just sit normally like this and you just do this, well, now that becomes very easy to just keep a head level, right, while you're spamming. So that's just a recommendation is while you're spamming, don't jump around, but then when you're next to people, of course, jump around because it makes you harder to hit. Make sure while we're jumping around that we're adjusting up and down. So as we're jumping up, we're looking down. As we're landing, we're going back up to head level. So we're constantly trying to keep that head level while we're jumping around. We're looking down, we're going back up, right? And that's just how you keep head level and how you hit more headshots, just in general, right? So we can move on now. Maybe one more thing that we'll go over briefly, and then I don't think this one you're having a big major issue with, but just I see it once in a while where we'll mess up when to left click versus right click. But again, this one isn't very big. It's not repeating a ton, but it is happening once in a while, so we'll just go over it real quick. Of when should we left click versus when should we right click? Well, in general, right click is going to be just much more efficient because you fire at a faster pacing, so you're going to be doing more damage faster if we're right clicking, but it's also less accurate. So the further away you get, the less you're going to want to use it. So once you stop hitting more than one shuriken, you probably want to stop using it. So right here, if you notice, we right click, we hit one shuriken, but we can hit the body shot and hit 3 shurikens. Right? If we back up to this, well, now we're actually not going to be able to hit all 3 even from this distance, right? So that means that once we step past that distance on one solo target, we're probably going to want to left click so we can be much more accurate with our shots. Now, when you can right click further from this distance is on tanks, right? Because tanks have bigger hitboxes. You can do it up against shields and up against big crowds of people, unless you're trying to specifically target somebody in the crowd, right? Besides that, you're just gonna you right click whenever you can, and then you left click when you can't. And then on top of that, remembering that you can. A lot of people don't realize that you can actually left click dash, whereas a lot of people just have it ingrained into them. Right, I'm gonna right click dash. Instead, you can when you're at a left click range, you can left click dash and to be doing a lot more damage than if you just hit one single shuriken, right? Like if you just right click dash from here, right, we're only doing like half their health, whereas if we were to like left click dash from here, right, we can finish him off in a combo, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for now in the training range. We'll go back.
Traveling to Volskaya. Ready.
Say.
Okay, so here, yeah, we just go way too far past them. Besides that, just be careful about the Doom here. Just want to watch out and pay attention to him. Because we do look away even though he's still over on the side, and we knew he was there, so we just have to be careful. So you notice like as we're walking in how just where our crosshair level, like crosshair placement is placed. As we're walking in, we're aiming like really low to the ground, right? So while we're aiming, look at where our crosshair is in comparison to like Symmetra, for example, which Symmetra is kind of is one of those characters that's going to be at like that default head level height for most characters. So just look at where it is in comparison to her, and then that means that we're aiming a little bit too low, especially up against tanks, which are going to be even taller than Symmetra.
Okay.
I need healing.
Okay. So far. Okay, so let's go even further into target priority because I've not seen you once yet on their supports. So let's go even further into target priority and go, okay, well, yes, we don't want to shoot at tanks. So tanks, of course, are going to be the hardest things to kill here, probably the lowest on the target priority list. But we also have a target priority even above that, right, of who should we be going for. So let's say between, Mercy, Doomfist, Ana, and Symmetra, who is going to be the hardest to kill out of those guys?
Doomfist.
Yet, as we notice, we've been on him for the past 2 fights, right? Right,
Yeah.
the third hardest person to kill on their team. Then, let's go, one step further. Then probably who would be the hardest to kill out of the next 3?
What heroes did you say?
Yeah, Symmetra. We're left with Symmetra, Ana, and Mercy.
Oh, Symmetra.
Should be the hardest. I would definitely say between the three, it really depends. Now we're getting to the territory where they're very similar, and I'd say it really depends upon the situation. If Symmetra doesn't have turrets or a TP around her, she's the easiest to kill, right? If she does not have those things. If Ana doesn't have her abilities, she's the easiest to kill. If Mercy is doesn't have someone to fly to, away to, or doesn't have Valk or something like that, then she'd be the easiest to kill. So now it becomes I'd say these three are definitely the most even targets where they're all going to it's going to be more dependent on what's happening, right? So I'd say they're all decently even in how easy it is to kill them. Yet so far this game, I haven't seen us shoot at I saw shoot at maybe Symmetra like one time, right? And then besides that, we haven't shot at any of those characters or been actively seeking them out, right? Because target priority isn't just I'm going to I need to shoot at these guys, but it's I'm going to actively search and seek out these guys because I know they're going to be the easiest to kill. So, based off of that, let's talk a little bit on kind of our approach of how we're approaching each fight. Each fight, we're just going straight in down main, right? Just going straight through here, right? Whereas maybe what we might want to be doing is taking some side angles. So maybe we come in from the left or from the right. So a really easy way to do this would be like if we know that Anna's on the top right here, is we could just jump across. We can come up to the high ground, just jump across or walk climb up, and then boom, we're like right next to Anna, right? Just really easy way to do that. Or if we're trying to get to the Mercy or Symmetra, we can come from the left side to get very close in next to them and get on top of them. Or we can jump across right side and we can come in from the right side, right? All different angles to give us what that does for us. It does a couple things for us, right? So this acts as an off angle, right? That's what an off angle is it's taking a different angle, right, that gets you around their tanks and their shields all the stuff on the front line who you don't want to be shooting at, right? At each time we come in from this frontal angle, then we're just stuck shooting at tanks and shields, right? Whereas if we were to do something like this, well, now we just get past those very easily, right? Now, the other thing that this does is it also gives us a surprise advantage, right? So now, when we come from the front, they're able to see us and shoot at us and stun us very, very easily. But if we come from the side, well, now they're not going to know where the heck we are until we're already on top of them, right? We have seconds of an advantage because they don't know where we are. It's a surprise. Right. On top of that, we also create what we call a crossfire effect, where now when our team's shooting at them from the front and we're shooting at them from the side, they're not sure who do we put resources into, who do we focus? Do we focus on Genji or do we focus on the team? And this confuses them. This is going to split their resources. It's going to lead to inefficiency, right? Whereas if we were all just sitting over here, they can just pump all the resources down one angle, right? So overall, don't just sit main. Look to come from the left, from the right. Sitting main all the time isn't terrible. It's just that if we are going to sit main, we need to have a reason why we're doing so, right? Like maybe if we already have our ultimate, we might want to sit main. Like we wouldn't have a reason to go on a flank if we're just going for our ultimate this fight, right? Or if we're going for the on up on the high ground, we can just come in main and then boom, we can just climb up the high ground, right? But if we're gonna, we basically want to come with a game plan of this is how we're gonna get to the targets we want to kill, basically, right?
Yeah. Um,
Do you have something you wanted to say?
no.
Okay, sounds good.
I am ready.
Actually, the
Hmm?
junk is my duo.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Here again, notice how we dash, instead of using dash as a finisher, we dash immediately at the Symmetra. We also dash past again, make sure we're using it. Oh, I guess not, we didn't dash that far past, so taking that back, right? But we do dash first, whereas the only time really we should be doing that first is if we're trying to close the distance on someone. When we're already right next to them, there's no reason to dash first when you could use the dash as a finisher. Instead, dance around her head, shoot at her, and then you dash to when she's this health, right? When she's like half, then you can right-click dash and finish her off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Besides that, make sure we're paying attention to where our team's at there because we did end up staying in there far too long and then we didn't back up. So here, let's go back a little bit, right? So we have teammates with us, but our whole team's dead, right? We lost players, they're all dying. So right now our decision, right? We've lost this fight. We either want to get out or we want to let them kill us, right? So we don't do either. Instead, we try to fight. We stay in the fight. We don't back up fully, right? Here we could have dashed out, right? Or we could have just sat here and let them kill us, but instead we don't do either. And then this staggers us, right? You aware of what staggering is, or what the term is?
No.
No, so staggering is when basically at its core is just dying late, right? Let's see what happens when we die late. So we die late there. So when we come out of spawn, our entire team's all the way up here. Now they do seem to be waiting for us. So basically, whenever we stagger, our team has two decisions: either they wait for us, in which case we've just wasted a bunch of time, right? Or if they don't wait for us and they go in, well, now they're running in when they don't have players, and then they're going to be much more likely to lose that fight. So here they're making the right decision to just waste the time, but it's still bad here because we could have been grouped up like 5-10 seconds ago instead of having our team waiting for us, right? If we just let them kill us or if we just got out, right? So when the fight's lost, make sure we're trying to regroup with our team, not staying in there and fighting, because let's say we even got Symmetra there, wouldn't have changed anything, right? We still wouldn't have won the fight.
Okay.
Okay. Also noting that because of the initial us using Blade before we had Nano and when it wasn't necessary, that sets us out of sync with our Ana to where now we don't have Nano Blades, whereas we probably we want to make sure we're syncing up with her. That way we are able to get off Nano Blades. Whereas now either we have to make the decision: do we wait for Ana or do we not wait for Ana? Right? I'd probably say the best decision to make would be to wait for her unless you see that you're winning the fight and you want to use Blade to secure the win, right? That would be the only time I would use Blade here.
Okay.
And noting again that we're dashing immediately through, right? And so here we just go dash right click, finisher, right? Use it to finish people. That was a much better. Oh, actually, what health was he? I thought it was lower than he was actually. Okay, because he had shield health. That's why.
Ladies and gentlemen, my latest creation.
Again, noting that we're still on Doomfist, right? Doomfist is still our target, right? We're trying to duel him, right? Still, and then noting that he's not intentionally dueling us, right? We keep chasing after him while he's just ignoring us and then going for different targets, and then therefore he's actually getting value, right? Like this fight, while we're trying to chase him around, he's been in our backline, he's been, messing up people with his ultimate. Like I don't think he actually got anybody, but like noting he ults, he goes for a backline, they actually, they beat, so it doesn't do anything. Right, but then he gets our Junkrat while he's ulting. Right, well, we're still chasing him. And then he goes on, he ignores us and then goes on our Ana. Right? Unless he does get our Ana, right? Huh? Okay, so we finally get him. Just took us forever just because he's not an easy target to kill.
Okay.
So just a lot of, and like this is just us misunderstanding target priority inherently just makes us a lot less efficient, right? Just because we're inherently always shooting at the wrong things, which means that we're not getting kills, which means we're not winning fights, which means that we're not winning games, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting decently close. Don't go for the right click dash because it was too far away. Either you would left click there or you just wouldn't right click at all, because when you right click, that's going to have a delay before you can right click again. Whereas if you just dash normally and then right clicked afterwards, then that would mean that you'd have less of a delay before you can actually fire again. So you'd be able to fire sooner.
Enemy contact.
Alright, so we got a kill. We're still 20 away from our Nano, so we're still waiting on that, unfortunately. But we don't seem to notice that, right? So here, we do go in for the Blade. I wouldn't, because we're so very close to two different ultimates we can combo with, right? We can combo with a Grab, or we can combo with a Blade, or with a Nano, or we can combo with both. And I don't think that we need to rush anything here, but we do seem to. And then also we're not paying attention that we're behind us, and we don't notice that we're down our Hog and our Ana, right? So right now, in fact, we think we're at an advantage because we got Doomfist, whereas actually we're at a disadvantage because it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 5, right? So they actually are at the advantage currently, whereas we're at the disadvantage. Whereas if we had waited like just 10 more seconds for Hog and Ana to walk back, we might have Grab, which we can combo with, and we might have Nano, which we can combo with, right? So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to where is our team at, making sure this is a part of awareness, is looking behind us. So before we're going to engage and run in, we want to just do a quick 360, just look behind, or 180, right? Look around us, go, is my team here? Are they with me? Yes, they are, let's go. Or if they're not, we wait for them, right? That way we're not engaging without them. Let's talk real quick about how to tell whether or not you've won or lost a fight, because though it is not direct, we've seen a couple instances where this has been a thing, so let's just talk about it anyways, right? Is how to tell that, right? Pretty much this comes down to watching kill feed, right? Or just paying attention to what's on your screen, right? And when you watch kill feed, you want to pay attention to how many people are alive, right? Like who's winning or losing based off of the kills, right? So when you are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage, right? When you have an advantage, you can play more aggressively because you are up people. Now, when you are up 2 to 3 people, that is a one fight, right? At that point, you don't need to use any ultimates because you've already won the fight, unless it's a case like this, whereas, if you're winning, then it's not like you can save onto your ult. You can't hold onto your ult for the next fight, right? So this is a case where you'd use it, but in most fights, right, like think first point, for example. If you're winning the fight, you don't want to use your ult, right? If you've won the fight. Okay, on top of that, you want to look to get super aggressive because they have a lot less people to contest you. Now, this also goes the exact opposite way. When you are down 1 to 2 people, that is a disadvantage. You haven't lost the fight yet, right? But you're losing the fight, so you might want to play a little bit more passive, right? And then on top of that, when you were down 2 to 3 people, that is a lost fight, right? That is when you don't want to use ultimates, right? You don't want to use
Yeah.
ultimates, and then you also want to look to get out or let them kill you, right? So it's just how to tell that. Right now, we couldn't look at kill feed to see this, but we definitely can look behind us and around us to see this, right? When it's a 4v5, right, we're walking in at an inherent disadvantage, right? So we want to make sure we're walking in when we have an advantage, or neutral, not walking in when we're at a disadvantage. Okay, so it's good that we do focus the Mercy here, that we do get ulted. Here we can, if we see that, I probably just dash out of it because it's better. It's better that you don't get caught in it. Think of it this way, right? If you get caught in it, you're not going to get any kills and you're going to die. But if you just dash out of it, you might not get kills, but at least you're staying alive through it, right? So here, I just like turn to the left real quick and dash out instead of trying to get the kill in Mercy.
Okay.
And then we die, right? So just waiting, because now, just let's see, like just a couple seconds after we blade, so we go in for blade. Okay, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 9 seconds later after blading on has nano, and sorry, has graph, right? So
Yeah.
if we had just waited 9 seconds, we would have a massive ult combo of nano blade and grab, right? Yeah, good decision to back up.
Got you good as new.
All right, let's talk real quick on strengths and weaknesses of like what you look good at and what you look bad at, right? And like what needs work and what doesn't. So ability usage, deflect honestly has been looking decently solid. Right, we're using it pretty frequently. Maybe sometimes where we get too aggressive when we don't have it available. Right, just make sure part of our aggression is based off of whether or not we have abilities or not, because our abilities are how we disengage. Right, so if we don't have our abilities, we may not be able to engage. Besides that, dash I'd probably say is the big one that needs work, particularly making sure that we're like the big thing with it is just making sure we're dashing to finish off kills rather than just like when we see people, because it acts as a very fantastic finisher, very easy to land, does a large burst of damage, right? Like with a right click dash, you can do like half of their health in one go, which, like we said before, makes it so that you can finish them before they're able to escape, right? And they're able to get healed. So dash axe is an excellent finisher, yet we're using it like the second we see somebody, which isn't a very efficient way to use it, right? So overall, I'd probably say ability usage. Probably comes in at like a low to medium priority, right, of how much you need to work on it. Ultimate usage, we've only seen one. I definitely need to see. Oh no, never mind. We've seen two. And the timing of them. So far, we've gotten like in total like 1 kill out of the 2 of them. So it definitely needs some work. Like the timing of it was a little bit off. We used one in a fight that we had over. We're at a pretty big advantage, and then the next one we used when we were basically when we could have waited for 2 ultimates and our team to be with us, right? So it was just way too early. And then we also died with the next one before we were able to actually do anything when we did have a dash to get away. So overall, ultimates needs more work. So I probably say ultimate usage goes at like a medium priority. Moving on, mechanics. Mechanics, we've had a couple things such as left click versus right click usage. That one's tiny though. Making sure we're keeping good crosshair placement. And then I think that's and the target priority, which is the big one there, is making sure we're shooting at the right targets. That one's pretty massive. So overall, stink. Okay, so I'm trying to think of where to place this. For now, we'll place this one at a medium priority as well, because really the only big one is the target priority, but that alone might put it up to like a medium high. But for now, we'll put it at a medium priority. We'll see how it goes from there. Though I am very tempted to put it at a medium high for now. Positioning. Positioning so far, we haven't had too many big things, right? Like we've had maybe just coming in from off angles and flanks, going from the left and the right instead of just down lane. But besides that, there hasn't been too much of an issue. So positioning, honestly, like a low to medium, probably below the lowest so far, low to medium priority. And then awareness, coming in. We've had a lot of awareness things. Awareness, we've had paying attention to kill feed, paying attention to your team, paying attention to the enemy team. Besides that, paying attention to tab and and what's going on around you, paying attention to ultimates. There's just been a lot of things on that. So I think that I'm gonna actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I will bump up mechanics to a medium high, and then I'm gonna put awareness there at a medium high as well. So just as a refresher, it's awareness and mechanics at a medium high, ultimate usage at a medium, and then ability usage and your positioning at a low to medium priority. So that's just where everything stands for now. We'll adjust them as we go along, and then yeah, let's just continue on.
Okay.
Right, like there where we kind of right click dash when that wouldn't have really done anything because we'd only hit one shot. Also noting that when we do dash in that we are 71 HP, so make this part of awareness. Pay attention to your health bar as we do get. Okay, actually we get healed like the second before we push in there, but we're still a decent bit low as well, so we probably don't want to be going for this. The other thing I would keep in mind as well is that we're actively taking a duel where we are at a disadvantage. So you want to make sure that when you're taking duels, right? This is a duel right now because we're going in, and it's instead of us going in like 1v5, it's like 1v1 or 1v2. Take duels where you have an advantage and disengage from duels where you have a disadvantage, or don't actively seek out duels where you have an advantage, or sorry, a disadvantage, right? So here, let's think about what advantages do they have over you. Well, first off, you're down some HP, so you're already at a disadvantage because of that. But the biggest disadvantage here is that it's a 2v1, right? Here we are actively attempting to engage a 2v1, and then also Echo's a pretty good counter. He's not like a counter in the sense of you have to swap off Genji if they're on an Echo, but in a 1v1, Echo's pretty solid against Genji, right? Because she has her beam that can go through his deflect. She has, and that once she gets him down to half HP, she can just very easily beam him down. So overall, Echo's just really solid against Genji. You're lower health, and it's a 2v1, which means that right now, I probably say you have like a 20% chance of actually doing anything here or winning this duel or getting a kill. Whereas there's a very massively high chance that you're just going to die here and not accomplish anything, right? So probably don't want to engage here. Look to go do something else or for a better situation, right?
Okay.
Also, at the time of engaging, we did not have to deflect as well, and then we die, right?
Yeah.
So, analyzing the situation, paying attention to our surroundings, then adjusting our decision accordingly.
I am ready.
60 seconds remaining.
Enemy contact. In case you were wondering,
Very close to finishing her.
Zarya.
Okay, Echo still remains the third hardest thing to kill, but then also I would say that now that they have an Echo, Mercy gets buffed as well to where now Mercy's probably going to be the fourth hardest thing to kill, because now that she has an Echo, she's going to be up in the sky more and she's going to be harder to finish off than she was before because she has an extra escape route. So overall, Ana and Symmetra would still be the #1 picks. Mercy then Echo, right? Whereas so far we've been going like tanks or honestly we've been going for the Doomfist and the Echo the most so far, and then tanks second, and then the other ones we barely gone for at all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, nice kill.
Reverting personality. Echo online. 30 seconds.
Okay, I like they're going for the Mercy there. That's a good idea. Though we miss a couple shots there.
Double
You look
The
tired.
objective is mine.
We're leaning on the wedding. Systems in overdrive.
10 seconds remaining.
Alright, so there probably we would have been best if we went on Ana first, but we accidentally dashed past her. So there we just misunderestimated the dash range, right, of it. It's just, you know, we didn't dash correctly. Maybe dash up a little bit more so you can just drop on her head rather than just going past her, right? If we just aimed up at, you know, at a higher angle. Besides that, I think the blade timing's fine there. Okay. You play questioning. You play McCree as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this situation, so let's just talk about. Would you say that it's like a very? Do you play like Genji firstly and then McCree as second, or are they pretty even?
Genji first.
Okay, so I'd probably say just as tips of when you should swap characters. Swap characters when, you know, first off, when you just don't feel like you're doing good on one of them, but then also when the other character's just gonna be better. So let's look at their team comp real quick and think, okay, what are all the things that suck about playing up against this team comp as Genji? Well, first off, you know, Genji's gonna stink against Echo because Echo has Beam especially, and then she can also just fly away from him and keep out of his range. So Echo's a good counter to Genji. Symmetra, turrets and Symmetra's Beam go through our deflect and can kill us very easily. Sigma can rock us through stuff. So overall, not a fun comp to go up against as Genji. Whereas McCree, well, if we take a look at our team comp, we don't actually have much to contest the Echo. Whereas Echo, you know, McCree would be able to contest the Echo a little bit better, and McCree wouldn't struggle with any of the same problems there that Genji struggles with, right? Because the beams don't really matter to McCree, but on Genji, the beams do matter, right? So here in this situation, I'd probably say McCree overall be a much better character for this situation than Genji would be. So it's, again, pay attention to what team composition they're on, because that, you know, team composition dictates your play style. So we're going to be playing different ways when we're up against team compositions, but we also might want to play different characters up against different team compositions. So here, better character to be on would probably be McCree, especially if you do play him as a secondary character.
Okay.
ready for.
Okay, so would you play Soldier here? Are you wanting to go over Soldier, or would you rather like skip to another replay where you're playing a different character?
Skip.
Skip? Okay. Are you playing him for the rest of the round here? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then let me get up the next one then.
Now traveling to Busan. Ready for battle.
Okay, you're on McCree here. You want to go over McCree, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, sounds good.
What are you on about?
Marked by the dragon.
Touch from afar. Enemy contact.
I am ready.
I'm under attack.
The objective is now active.
All right. So far, I'd say we're being pretty passive with how much we're shooting. Like, notice how every time we shoot, we'll shoot for like 1, 2, maybe 3 shots, and then we'll back off and reload. Right. So notice here how when we come in, right, we shoot 1, 2, reload. Right, back off. 1, back off. Right. 1, back off. Reload. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, back off. Reload. Right. 1, back off. Right, and then we go 1, back off, and then we go 1, 2, and then we back off, right, and then we
Yeah.
go 1, 2, back off, right. Notice that
Yeah.
trend. Stay in there longer. You have not been contested once so far, right? You haven't had anybody shooting at you. You haven't had any pressure. You haven't had anybody on top of you. Stay in there longer. Shoot at more things. Do more damage. Be more active, right? Be more aggressive, right? You want to basically, when it comes to aggression, you have a chart, right? You have a scale where you have at 0 you have passiveness, and at 100% you have aggressiveness. Like, right, really passive, very aggressive. When you're in a neutral fight, so when you're coming into this fight, this is what you call a neutral fight, where neither team has an advantage or a disadvantage, right? No one has ults or anything like that, right? It's a neutral fight. When you're coming into a neutral fight, you're always coming in at a 50% aggression, right? Where you're starting off in the middle. As you get advantages, you get more aggressive. As you get disadvantages, you get less aggressive. So you get very easy way to do this is kills, right? Like we talked about the kill feed. When you get up a person, you go to 60. 2, you go to 70. 3 people, you go to 80. 4, 90. 5 or 6 people, you should be like going super insanely aggressive, going straight into them, right? Opposite direction, when you're down a person, going down to 40, right? 2 people, 30, and then so on, right? This also is adjusted based off of your health, or how many people are shooting at you, or how do you have your abilities or do you not have your abilities, right? Do you have ammo, right? All these will adjust to where now you're fluctuating throughout the fight. You're going 50, 60, 70, then back to 50, then down to 40, right? You're just throughout the fight, you're fluctuating through your aggression, right? So far, we have had no contention. We've had our abilities. We should be, so far this fight, we should have been at 50%, yet where we were during this entire fight was more like 20%, right, in our aggression, or 25%, right? We're just kind of poking a little tiny bit. We're not really engaging. We didn't really do anything. So make sure they're being more aggressive when we don't have anything contesting us, when we're not adding any disadvantages, that we're just being there and we're existing, right? The other thing this gets into a little bit is actions per minute, is making sure we're doing things. We're not just kind of sitting around and not doing anything, right? Make sure we're shooting and constantly, or make sure we're trying to do things, right? That's actions per minute. If you compare a Grandmaster player to a Bronze player, right? The Grandmaster player might be doing it for the most part with mistakes involved, right? Will be efficient with as many seconds as possible throughout their gameplay, right? They're going to be trying to be efficient throughout all of it. Whereas a Bronze player might go pew pew shoot shoot and then stop, randomly stop shooting for 10 seconds straight, right? Or they might go pew pew and then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm in a fight, pew pew shoot shoot, and then they'll be like, oh wow, look at this pretty scenery, right? And they'll just get
Yeah.
distracted again, right? So we want to make sure that you're constantly doing things. Whereas this fight so far, we weren't constantly doing things. We were just kind of sitting around for a large portion of it. And then as a result, because we just did that, they got 2 kills on you guys, right? Whereas we didn't get any kills on them. Also noting that we swapped our targets every other second as well. So it wasn't just that we were only shooting 1 to 2 shots. We also swapped our targets very frequently, to where we were on McCree, we were on the monkey, then we were on McCree, right? And then here we're back on monkey, and then we're on Genji now, and then now we're on McCree, and then now we come in and we're on monkey, and then we're on Genji, and then now we're on the Ana, right? So we just swap between like 5, 6 different targets, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If we're, if we do like 50 damage to each to like 5 different people, right? That means
Yeah.
that we're just going to tickle them. We're not doing anything. We're not accomplishing anything. They're just going to heal that up. But if we combine all that damage, so 50 times 5, now we're doing a whole heck of a lot more damage, right? Enough to where that's, I believe, 250, right? 250 damage. That means that now we're going to be able to finish somebody off. Actually, with that damage, you could have actually gotten a kill out of that damage, right? So we want to
Yeah.
make sure we're not constantly swapping between targets. So a lot of
Okay.
big things there, right? Unfortunately, we missed the right click. Probably a good decision. Just let them kill you.
My ultimate ability.
Nice shots.
Oh, excuse me.
Help me.
Though noting again how we just swap between 4 different targets in the course of like 5 seconds, right? You swap targets when needed, right? You swap when you have a better target to shoot at. So if somebody's low, if somebody's out of position, if you're noticing that you're shooting at the wrong, you're not really shooting at the easiest target to kill, right? If you find a better target to shoot at, you shoot the better target. But we don't want to swap between 4 different things, right? Because we go Zarya, we shoot her, she's half HP here, but then we swap over to the Genji, right? And shoot at the Genji, and then we're gonna swap away from the Genji, right? Even though we could still be shooting at the Genji, we're gonna swap to the monkey, right? And then we're gonna swap back to we're gonna shoot the monkey for a little bit, and then we're gonna shoot at the Zarya, right? And then we're gonna swap from the Zarya to the on the back, right? And then we're swapping back to the Zarya, right?
Yeah.
And again, right? It's continuing to happen, right? All this all this stuff feeds into to mechanics, and mechanics therefore is just shot up to a high priority, the top of the top. Very big thing, because all of this stuff is just leading to the fact that we're going to be getting very, very little kills because of all these different things that we're doing that are withholding us from being able to get kills, right? Okay. On top of that, here when we get grabbed, pay attention to the fact that they just bladed. Honestly, I would say it's fine if we high nooned here if they didn't blade, right? Because if they didn't blade, then we might be able to survive it. But because they're blading into this grab, it's probably not a very smart idea, right? That'd be like if we saw them dragging into our grab and we decide to high noon, right? We're probably going to die here. So no reason to go for a high noon, which you just ultimately get wasted. So pay attention to what's happening around you as part of awareness again, right? Right? Not really anything wrong with abilities. Not, not a ton wrong with how you're just going pew pew shoot shoot and just like your aim, right? Not a long wrong with your positioning. I actually like the positioning we're taking so far. Positioning, honestly, yeah, no, well, I guess we'll still keep it there because of the off angle thing. But actually, you know what? Overall, I'm gonna bump down positioning to a low priority, though there is still that just make sure we're off angling on Genji, right? But besides that, positioning's pretty low. We've been doing really good with positioning. Make sure that we're participating, because again, we just kind of sit here while the fight's happening. I guess maybe we're dodging at the high noon. That's fine.
I need to recharge.
Hold up now.
Again, swapping targets in the middle of shooting at somebody unnecessarily. Like, we broke Zarya's bubble and could have kept shooting at her, but then we just swapped to the monkey instead. Oof, unfortunate. Watch your health bar. Make sure that when we're low, we're requesting healing and trying to get healed up. Or we have 2 supports behind us, so instead of sitting at half HP, we could just back up real quick and get healed up, and then we wouldn't be sitting that low. Keep forgetting what number we are. We're 5.
Smart, don't it?
This will restore you. Enemy contact. Coalescence is charging.
Also, one more thing, because I don't think I brought it up before, when talking about target priority, when we're shooting at tanks, just keep in mind that there are times where we do shoot at tanks, right? We shoot at tanks when they're out of position, when they're low, when they are the only thing that we can shoot at. On Genji, think, for example, comparing Genji to McCree, Genji is able to get into their backline a lot easier than McCree can. So therefore, if there's tanks in your face, you might be a lot more inclined to shoot at the tanks than to shoot at the supports in their backline than a Genji would, though keeping in mind that McCree can still take off angles, and then therefore that's what he would do to get around them. But there are going to be more instances in which it is acceptable to shoot at tanks on McCree, but still the same target priority applies.
Walk it off.
I need a doctor. Don't move.
Okay, slightly delayed to turning around, and then maybe there we could have saved the Ana had we been looking a bit earlier. I think we were caught up trying to get the kill, whereas here we maybe could have gotten a kill along with saving our Ana, which would put us up, put us up a player instead of down a player. We seem to be missing the headshots a lot when we're going for flashes, so I'd practice at making sure we're hitting headshots. This is going to help if we're aiming head level, but then on top of that, is just put in practice and make sure we're intentionally trying to aim for the headshots, because we seem to be missing them a lot of the times here. Also, when we do go for the flashes, it's looking as though usually you can if you shoot right away, you can fit 2 shots in, whereas they were only able to fit 1 shot in, and I think that's because there's a delay before we actually start shooting. So when you flash, make sure shooting as fast as possible. I'm pretty sure you can even just be holding down shooting after you land the flash, and then that way we're shooting immediately, and then we can fit in 2 shots before they're actually able to recover from the flashbang. All right, so we're gonna exit out here, go back to the training range. So now we're gonna go over the main points of the session, do a quick review, and then wrap up the session from there. So main points of the session, right? We had a big one was our mechanics, because we had we didn't really have too much of a problem with just shooting at people, but we did have a lot of issues with how we were shooting at people and how we were approaching things, right? Big ones, target priority, right? Don't shoot at tanks and don't shoot at the hard things to kill. Shoot at the easy things to kill, right? Because that's how we're going to get kills very easily, is to target the things that are easy to kill, right? So with that in mind as well, we'll get to off-angling when we get to positioning, right? But make sure that we are also on top of that, actions per minute, right? Making sure we're shooting at things as often as possible. We're not taking breaks and pauses. Make sure that we're not just like going for a shot and then backing off and reloading and then coming in for another shot. We're not just doing the 2-shot thing where we go like this and then we back and then we go like this and then we back, and we don't want to do that. We want to stay in and shoot at things, right? So that'll get into aggression when we get to that, right? On top of that, don't swap targets like every 2 seconds, right? Don't go this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, right? Don't swap around. Stick on one thing unless there's a better target to be on, right? Or the one target gets away from you or something like that, right? There are situations where you will swap, but not every 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Moving on, let's see what else was there. Crosshair placement, make sure we're keeping our crosshair at head level. And then I think was that it? I think that was it. Maybe I'll remember another one if we get to it. But those are all really big things that were just stopping us from being able to do things, right? We honestly didn't get a lot of kills, and then that was one of the big reasons why, right? So number 2 is going to come in at awareness, right? There's a lot of things that we just weren't aware of. Paying attention to our health bar, requesting healing when you're low and not getting aggressive. Paying attention to what's happening around us. Where's our team at? Where's the enemy team at? Like, so we're not walking in without our team, and that we're not, so we know where the enemy team's at, and going on the right targets and making sure that we're going in when we have advantages, not disadvantages. Pay attention to kill feed, right? And when you're winning or losing, just as a quick reminder, it is 1 to 2 is an advantage or a disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight, right? You get aggressive in one fights and advantages. You get be passive, and if you've lost the fight, you want to get out if you can, or if you can't, you let them kill you. You also don't use ults in won or lost fights, right? On top of that, pay attention to, what were some of the other ones? Pay attention to team compositions and how they dictate your play style, and maybe if you should be swapping characters or not. And then there's just a lot of here and there things. Okay, moving on. Ultimate usage. Let's see, in ultimate usage, make sure that we're not using it in won or lost fights. Make sure that we are waiting for our team. We're not going in without them. And we're trying to combo ults. We didn't really, besides comboing with the grab, we didn't combo with the ultimates we had. We didn't get a nano blade off, and we didn't get, the second time we didn't go for a grab. Top of that, prioritize your life while you're in your blade. If they're ulting you, try to get out. Don't like suicide to try to get a kill. Thinking. What were some other ones? I think those are the main ones. Right, pay attention to what your team's doing, so that you're not ulting if they're using 3 other ults, right? Pressing tab as well as part of awareness. And then 4 is going to be at our ability usage and Genji. Make sure we're using our dash as a finisher, and then make sure we're not engaging aggressively when we don't have our deflect. But a lot of times, like, notice like when we go in and we dash immediately here, right, and we go for a right-click dash, right, we're doing like half their health in that, right? Which means that now that last little bit of HP we have to hit shurikens on, which are going to be a lot less accurate. It's going to be harder to do that than to dash at them. And then on top of that, during that time, they can get healed up very easily, whereas if we instead just poke this guy out, and then we see he's low, okay, then we can dash in and finish him off, right? So use it as a finisher. Besides that, left click when you're further away from people into the dash. Oh, that was another part about out mechanics, right? Left click versus right click usage. Left click when you're further away. You right click whenever possible. You can right. It's usually the range is like 10 meters, but then you can go further back if it's on tanks or a big group of people or in the shields, right? Thinking. Besides that, that's pretty much it with ability usage. Flashbangs, make sure you're getting used to hitting headshots into them. Besides that, nothing else with McCree's ability usage. And then finally comes your positioning, just making sure we're taking off angles and not just sitting on the front line the entire time. Besides that, positioning was pretty good. So, do you have any questions about anything that we've talked about?
No.
All right. So then let me stop the recording.